here back again with another episode of Pivot in Progress. Today, we'll be talking about something that all job seekers are facing these days. It's about tackling this problem of how job boards are not working for us and how one can land their next role without actually going through these job boards and discussing different strategies of actually going ahead and landing your role without application on job boards. We also have with us Arjun Prakash, founder and CEO of Pivot. Hi, Arjun. Thanks for joining and excited to have the next 1 hour of discussion, deep diving into this.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. And what is how I think we've done a couple of these now, Sahiti. So I feel like we have a good flow of discussion with regard to many things within job search. But I think the topic today is particularly exciting because we're not going to just talk about theoretical strategies. I
Yeah.
think we're going to talk about things that have actually helped a lot of our clients at Pivot, a lot of job seekers, a lot of career transitioners in their hundreds or sometimes even thousands. And I think towards the end, we are going to talk about some of the exciting things we are working on that can help people land their target role in a more effective manner.
Certainly, certainly. There's a lot to unpack and a lot of real life examples and practical strategies to discuss through this. And I hope everyone is joining us from wherever they are in the world. And if you have any questions during our discussion, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll take them whenever we can or at the end of the discussion. But the reason we are here is because we've also noticed this as a trend in the job market for the last few years. Also with working with users who have come to us at Pivot, that the traditional way of applying for jobs is not really leading to many callbacks and many conversions in terms of the jobs, right? And that has been a problem that people have faced. People apply to hundreds of jobs, not really getting any callbacks. So let's kind of go right into it and discuss some of the factors that are leading to it. One of the many factors is that there are way too many applicants for each job posted. Um, Arjun, in your experience, how can one then, position themselves? How can then one then, tackle this problem? How can one solve this?
Yeah, I think first, before going to the solution, I would just want to spend some time kind of setting the stage in terms of identifying what the
Yeah,
problem is really. I think you
yeah,
definitely hit it on the head when you said that the market is very crowded. That's
yeah,
number one problem with the current job market. 2 years ago, there was a different problem, which was more around lack of jobs. We saw that post COVID companies had been really tight with spending money on hiring talent.
yeah,
Budgets had been slashed because of less business activity and lower revenues. But since COVID ended, we saw that companies again enjoyed higher revenue growth. Their budgets again came back to normal, and now what's happening is because of AI coming onto the scene in a very aggressive manner, uh, companies are in a war for talent, especially
yeah,
the top talent, right? So what's happening is the demand for talent has again come back to normal, and in some cases, especially for AI and tech talent, or let's say project program management talent in India, GCC related talent, couple of other non-tech fields as well. It's not just all about tech. Like I would say, even for let's say marketing or strategy, these kind of roles, there's plenty of openings out there in the job market today, which is a very good development over the
yeah,
last 1 to 2 years. Um, the not so good news is because of the layoffs that have happened over the last 3 years now, right? It's almost accumulation of 3 years that we have seen continuous uh, mass layoffs happening across the board. And to date, I would say there are still companies who are doing it. there are certain lull periods when we might feel okay, everything's
Yeah.
back to normal. But
Yeah.
it's, in my view, it's not the case, because you're not always hearing about the smaller volume of layoffs. We only hear in news when it's like 1,000 plus, or
When it's a
at
bigger
least.
company. Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
But there are many smaller companies who are doing, fewer layoffs, or sometimes the large companies when they also do fewer layoffs. So that has had a compounding effect over the last 3 years, wherein the job market is now crowded with very talented, high performing professionals, and it's going to be very hard for many job seekers for the foreseeable future to compete in this kind of a market. Not because people are underperforming, or they have certain abnormalities in their
Yeah.
career trajectory. It's just because you are competing for the same jobs with well experienced talent, right? um, and that has not been the case in our in the job market's history for at least the last 2 to 3 decades. It's only so because of all the fact patterns that we just went through, COVID and AI layoffs, all of those have resulted in where we stand today. um, so that's one problem. The other problem that's happened is, which is why we are holding this particular session, is that many of the folks who are in the job market have come to us and talked constantly about how they have been applying to many jobs on
Yeah.
job boards, like the mainstream ones. You have your LinkedIn and Naukri, Indeed, uh, IM Jobs, etc., etc., and they're all good job boards. There's nothing wrong with them. If you go there, you'll find hundreds or millions of jobs. But the problem has become in the recent past that these job boards make it extremely easy for you to apply to any job, regardless of your fit,
Yeah.
and creating a very high, or a very voluminous, very crowded job market because of that reason. So it's not just the fact that there are a lot of job seekers in the market. I mean, that's true. But
Yeah.
if there were certain mechanisms on these job boards to curb applications when you're not a good fit, or perhaps capping the number of applicants once a
For
certain
job.
critical mass is achieved. I mean,
Yeah.
these are just some high level solutions, but basically, the problem is also exacerbated by the fact that anybody can apply to any job within a few seconds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so that's the other thing that we are seeing, people coming to us and saying, I'm applying to these job boards. I used to be able to hear back after a month of applications, or maybe two. Now I've applied to 4 months, 5 months, applied to 500 plus jobs, and I'm still not hearing back at all.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced something like this before. I've
Yeah.
landed jobs much easier before.
Yeah. I think especially mid-career professionals have felt that earlier they would hear back and now they're not. So what's broken?
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is the other side of the equation, right? Apart from the large supply of talent which you're competing with in a crowded market, it's that a lot of job boards today have played a very, I think, unintended role. I don't think this was their intent. I think what they were trying to do is make it very easy for applicants to just apply anywhere. So they
Yeah.
didn't think that actually it's going to create this sort of snowball effect,
Yeah.
where now people are applying to more jobs because they're not hearing back. So let's say I used to apply to 100 jobs, I heard back, I would not apply to next 100 jobs, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm applying to 100 jobs, I'm not hearing back because of a crowded market. Then I apply to the next 100, and so forth and so forth. And that's resulting in this ever increasing number of job applicants for every opening. So the average number of openings people used to apply to were like maximum 150, 200, not that much. Today it's 400, 500, right?
And
uh,
I guess it's also becoming much more difficult for the employer to actually
mhm.
now process these many applications. Um, the filtration process, in a way, screening process has become very different.
Yeah.
Um, that could be one of the factors that we can probably dive into. How does ATS then screen?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And definitely, we have heard from employers the same exact issue. Many of them are fed up with the fact that, these job boards uh, allow anybody to apply,
Yeah.
resulting in higher applicant volumes.
Yeah.
But lower quality of applicants, right? And that just requires these companies to spend more time and effort and money to identify the right talent for them.
Yeah.
Um, but before I go to the company side of the equation, meaning how are companies tackling this problem, which is definitely there. But since we have mostly, job applicants rather than recruiters in the room, what I would want to focus on is the third problem that actually has caused the job market and the job boards to face, lower callback rate for applicants is AI, right? So the first is crowded job market, layoffs. Second is very easy to apply to any job, hence more people apply to more jobs. And third is AI. Now AI, what it has done is made it much much easier for anybody to customize their resume
Yeah.
and uh, make it seem better than it actually is or it actually deserved to be. Um, so a lot of people didn't used to be able to write that well, Saiti, right? So let's say there were 50% of people who wrote well and 50% of people who didn't write that well. Now what AI has done is given a tool easily accessible to the lower 50% to improve their game
Yeah.
of resume writing and LinkedIn writing and go from being below average to above average. So the overall average is being
Is
raised,
increasing.
right?
Yes.
So earlier, let's say if I would rate an applicant on average 5 on 10, today the average rating for an applicant is 7 on 10,
700. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So when that's happening, that's also making it harder for companies to actually differentiate the real talented applicants who have the right experience, the right skills to match with their requirements, as opposed to people who are making it look better through the use of AI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Definitely.
And you can't decipher the actual versus the fake without talking to the person at least once.
Unless
So
actually
what's happening?
evaluating on different
Correct,
factors.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I mean, you really need a very good radar. You need very experienced recruiters to be able to do that. And we know, like many times, even recruiters don't have a lot of experience, right? Um, in any case, the main problem is that when AI has come into the scene, it's made things even easier
Yeah.
for people to apply to more jobs and position their profile more strongly, which is, see, I mean, it's kind of like in a way, I would say it's a bit of a sham, right? Because
Yeah.
AI makes you feel like, oh, my job application is getting better, so I'm going to hear back more from companies. But when you get down to the, grassroots,
Numbers. Yeah.
you actually realize that you're just adding more noise to a very crowded ecosystem.
Yeah. And increase and decreasing your probability of hearing back. I mean, as a combination of your own contribution to it and the system and the process
Right.
of it. Yeah.
Correct. So I think that's the overarching problem here from a applicant standpoint.
Yeah.
But I don't see the solution for this in terms of curbing the use of AI. I mean, nobody can control who uses AI for what.
Yeah.
It's free, it's accessible, and it's like telling people not to use Google, right? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
bizarre proposition. So I think the only solution that we see out of all these three problems that we have discussed today is either companies have to stop doing layoffs, which you and I can't control, or we change how job boards work,
Yeah.
right? And that's obviously again something we'll talk about in more detail later. But yeah, a lot of the things that we have seen as a problem area in this job market, which we have highlighted, many of those things will continue. The AI issue will continue, right? Layoffs, we don't know how long, but it seems for now that they will continue. And so people have to figure out different job search strategies in within the limitations that the new job market presents to them, right? So I think, yeah, maybe we can segue into that a little bit.
Yeah. Let's do that. It doesn't. uh, We've talked about the three problems. I don't think the solution is apply less. So
Mhm.
applying more intently, more mindfully, and applying to the right role, and probably using different strategies there will help. So let's talk about are what are some three or four of your top strategies that you can suggest to job applicants now.
Sure. Um, yeah, I think the first thing that I want to talk about, which I think, we have discussed at length previously between the two of us, and I've, probably shared it with numerous folks, is networking.
Yeah,
Um, on the face of it, it sounds pretty straightforward. But again, when you start to peel the layers,
yeah,
you realize that most people who are networking for job search purposes right now are not getting anywhere with that networking. Um, and that's not because, like, I don't want to blame them for trying. I think many people actually are scared of even trying. Believe me, when we talk to mid-career professionals who are in their 30s and 40s, because they've never had to really lean on their network
yeah,
before,
yeah,
they've only gotten jobs either through serendipity, like somebody just connected them without them asking for help, or they applied on a job board and got the job. Today, many of such folks find it difficult to ask for help, right?
yeah,
So I give a lot of credit to people who actually overcome their hesitation, their pride,
yeah,
um,
definitely.
ego, whatever it is, right, to ask for help.
Yeah,
um, but the thing is, asking for help, when it becomes so widespread
yeah.
and you see so many people doing it in a very transactional manner,
In a transactional way. Yeah, yeah,
right? That really impedes the success rate or the outcomes. So what's happening now is people realize that, okay, job boards are not working, so we have to do something else. The number one thing that every career coach and job search strategist advocates for is outreach to people at your target company and ask them for a referral or ask them for a job opportunity or something along those lines. And for better or worse, most people took that advice and they started applying it very mechanically by just saying, hey, this is what my background is, this is my resume. I either sometimes they would even not even share the job opportunity. They would just say, "Do you have any role for me at your company?" Or sometimes they would say, "Here's the JD. Can you please recommend me for this role?" Now, I won't spend too much time on this, but there are very obvious reasons why such a strategy, when being implemented at scale for thousands and thousands of people, will not work,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Just, I mean, all you have to do is think about if you were on the receiving end of such
yeah.
messages,
It
right?
just introduces fatigue at the mind of in the minds of receivers. It's
Absolutely. Like if
complete
I'm getting, let's
process.
say, even 2 or 3 referral requests in a week, that's too many because, I mean, number one, I don't really spend time doing like checking my LinkedIn. I don't really spend time recommending people and all that. Suddenly I'm getting so many requests. But the more important thing to realize here is you're a stranger to that
Yeah,
person. How many strangers do you help on a day-to-day basis? Very few.
yeah,
um, that's just human nature. We
yeah,
don't want to vouch for somebody we don't know
yeah.
many times,
Absolutely.
right? So there has to be something in it for these people to feel like they can vouch for you, right? Many times you might get lucky also, because let's say you're an IIT IIM, so it's safer on paper to refer somebody like that because of the credential background that you have. But most people want to know who they are vouching before they actually recommend you.
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, that's a low ROI networking that I've kind of given it that terminology because I think not all networking is equal.
yeah,
um, and so I think what we advocate for is high ROI networking. And high ROI networking is based on this principle that when you network with people who know you, or with second degree connections,
yeah,
or somewhere where you develop that relationship if you don't already have that with the person, that results in better outcomes, more trusted outcomes,
right.
because those people trust you and you trust them, right? And if they don't feel comfortable advocating your profile or referring you, they can tell you that, most
Yeah,
likely.
yeah,
So you don't waste your time reaching out to random strangers hoping that you will hear back. You reach out to fewer people who you know or through somebody, um, and that improves the quality of outcomes and the response rate, right? So I think that's the number one strategy that we can, I mean, we can probably unpack it further if needed, but at a high level, that's what works much better than cold outreaches.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing that we want to definitely double click on in this kind of section is, also reaching out to people who are decision makers, right? A lot of times you're reaching out to the wrong people for references and
Yeah.
referrals. Um, so can we unpack that a little bit? How do, like, let's say somebody is networking, has a good good relationship, but you're not really reaching to the right person. Does that happen often? Have you seen that happening often? And how does one then navigate that to then reaching the right person? Are there any tips you can share?
Yeah. I always say networking has four components: who, what, how, when, right?
Yeah,
And I think the first one is who, which is what we are talking about now.
yeah,
And that's a very important part of the success strategy here, like whether you actually hear back or don't. I think a lot of times people do aim very high up in the chain. Like, for example, if I'm a product manager and I'm applying to some PM roles, it's not necessary you have to reach out to the head of product, or
yeah,
product lead, or as some like the founder, because these people might also be very busy, even though they
yeah.
may sometimes be the decision makers, but they can be very busy and they may not always be checking their messages
Right,
on LinkedIn, especially if that's
right.
where you're reaching out, right? So I usually say that the best people are typically people at your same level, or perhaps one level above, or sometimes even one level below you, because even though they may not have decision making power many times,
Hmm.
they can get you the visibility that you need within the company,
Yeah,
um, in a more uh, accelerated manner, right? Now, that visibility is the thing that's missing for most candidates. They're not visible enough because their resume never makes the cut, right? Now, if your resume can make that cut, then it obviously has to be good enough
yeah,
to, to get the interview call back. But, that comes later. The first thing is to get you get more visibility. And for that, I think people who are most connected to the role that you're looking for, I think that probably has the biggest skin in the game for them, right? Because they're going to be working with you. If
yeah,
you're reaching out to somebody who's too junior, or if you're reaching out to somebody who's too senior, they don't have the same skin in the game as the person who might be working with you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think this is also important to also understand that it's not just like you're not connecting with the person just for a job. You're also connecting with the person sometimes to get more information about the job that you're going to be applying for, to kind
Hmm.
of get know-how of the team, of the product. And I think that is also very crucial to remember in networking. When you're networking,
Yeah.
it's important to also get some insight into how the team is, or how the product,
Hmm.
if you're a product manager, how the product works, or whatever segment you're in. I think that's
Yeah.
also crucial, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really good point. Actually, many times, when we are talking about transactional networking, which is low ROI, the reason it doesn't work is because you just have a handout mentality. You're just saying, "Hey, please help me." But
Yeah,
if 10 people put a hand out, how can any person help all the 10 people? It's very hard. But
yeah,
when you do this, what you said, which is you reach out to the person not just for a one-off help that you need or a transaction that you need, but you actually respectfully show them that you have gone to their profile, you've tried to understand more about their work, their company, and you want to understand certain things better, which you read about but couldn't fully grasp, or you're just curious how a new project that they have started working on is progressing. I think those are the kind of conversations which get more response. And there are a lot of critics of this also. They'll say, "Oh, I don't have so much time to do the research, and I was doing this but not many people responded." So both of those points are valid, but if you compare basically an approach where you just ask for help without any context versus sharing your curiosity about that person's work and the company's goals, if you just look at the data tells you that this latter approach has much better results, right?
yeah,
Now, I think that warrants a little more investment of your
For
time
sure.
and effort if it
Yeah.
has better outcome, right? But yeah, I mean, it's not like if you start doing that research and personalizing your message and you're not asked for help, that suddenly you'll hear back from every person. You
Yeah.
won't, right? But you will hear back at least, I would say, from 25-30% of people. And without that, we have seen that you usually hear back from 5 to 10% of
Yeah.
people.
Because
So
I
it's,
because it's kind of like a relationship building in some sorts, even though it is very low, it's a lower level of relationship that you're building. It's not a working relationship that you've built with the person you're reaching out, but it's definitely going to increase your chances of hearing back.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So I think, yeah, that's one of the things that we have seen. I mean, the other thing which, people need to start realizing is there are a ton of communities out there
Yeah.
which help you get in touch with the right people, in a very quick manner and in a very high touch manner. Meaning, it's not just that transactional one off message or email that you're able to send to that person. You actually get on a call, you discuss your background, your goals, get feedback, and also in the process, build a relationship
Yeah.
with that person. I mean, if you think about how we build relationships, it's usually through communication and through
Through
um,
intent.
taking, yeah, an intent, and you take uh, steps that showcase that it's not just about you; it's also about the other person. And in this
Yeah.
scenario, when you connect to let's say an industry expert or a mentor through a
Right.
community, like one of the communities is ours, Pivot. So there it's not just about you asking about help, but you're also actually giving the time and place to that individual who you're connected with, to learn something from them. And that is that's a way of reciprocation, because they feel more committed, they feel more skin in the game, because
For
you're
sure.
not there to just say, hey, give me a referral. You're
Yeah.
there to say, hey, I respect your experience, and I'm curious how you have been successful in your career, and I want to learn from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more of a two-way street as
Yeah.
opposed to just a handout one-way mentality.
Yeah, I think that that system of being in a community definitely helps take away that transactional element that usually impedes the user from reaching reaching through to a mentor. I think
Yeah,
being part of that community connects both the mentor and the mentee, and referrer, referee, to a common purpose of helping each other and learning through each other. And I think that is a very important aspect that we don't get to do often when we do networking, and bring that back in becomes so much more powerful for both the parties involved.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. um so I mean, I think there are also certain communities which I think you can do many things. Like LinkedIn obviously is considered a community, but you don't easily get to connect with people, um, because it's a very low density, high volume kind of a
Yeah.
network.
Yeah.
Um, so I think joining high density, low volume networks can be especially helpful, because there you meet more like minded people, than these larger communities. And I think if there are people who are on that community for the specific purpose of connecting with others and helping others, that's much more valuable to a job seeker than joining LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is something that everybody has as a default. It's not
Yeah.
that I'm on LinkedIn to help others or I'm on LinkedIn for a specific reason. I'm just on LinkedIn because everybody has LinkedIn
Yeah.
profile,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. Actually, that's a very good point.
yeah. Yeah, so I think communities are helpful when you join them intently, and especially the ones where you have most like-minded people, both from a industry domain specialization perspective, but also from a willingness to help perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very key factor. That is that makes any community much more powerful.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, let's also talk about other aspects. We've covered networking probably in quite good detail. If anyone has any questions about this part of the talk, the discussion, please drop them in the chat box. We'll cover those. But
Yeah.
Arjun, what are the other factors that you think can help job applicants get through to the right opportunities.
Yeah, so I think apart from job boards, the other thing that we have seen work pretty well, number one, like I said, high ROI networking through communities and warm intros and all those things. The second thing is, building a portfolio in the current job market is something that we believe is quite helpful when you're applying to jobs, even if two factors which people frequently tell me are sort of blockers in the way of them building a portfolio. One is they say it takes time, which is again true. um, and the second is that they say I can't build my particular role does not enable me to build a portfolio. I can't showcase what work I have done, right?
Yeah,
Now, the first one, I think you just need to think about your priorities, because if you are serious about job search, I would want you to put your best foot forward,
yeah,
and anything that improves your chances by at least 50% or more is something to be considered strongly. So I think portfolio will take a bit more time than just applying with a resume, but because it takes more time, fewer people do it, right? So think about it as a standout opportunity for you to differentiate your profile versus other job seekers in the market, right? Anything that is considered success is what we call a non-average outcome, right? If it's average,
right,
it's not considered successful.
right.
So if you're doing something that's average, which means you're applying with just a resume and LinkedIn profile, you will get average results. If you want to stand out, build a portfolio. Now, the second question that I often get is, I work in, let's say, supply chain and operations. How can I build a portfolio? Because I'm not a designer, I'm not a product manager. You know, these roles have a easier way to build
Yeah,
portfolios. But as a supply chain operations specialist, or as a, let's say, finance professional, or certain other roles, it can be relatively harder. And I completely see that point, right? I don't think they're making excuses. There are genuinely roles where it is harder to build a portfolio. But in such roles, also, you should think about how you can, rather than just talking about the work you have done, you can showcase it, right?
yeah,
So if you're a supply chain operations professional, I mean, maybe you have worked on a supply chain analytics project, and you can showcase how you have made the supply chain more efficient. Turnaround times have come down, or you have managed vendors in a way where you improve the or you reduce the budgets, the cost of vendors. So whatever it is, if you can showcase that through a more demonstrable kind of approach, I think that is usually much more preferred. Today, with the help of AI, you can actually build portfolios much faster also.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, you want to do it in a way which doesn't feel mechanical, doesn't feel like it's AI generated. You should have a human element to it. So definitely, use your very like specific, detailed prompts if you're using AI to generate a portfolio.
yeah,
Otherwise, I think the best thing is if you can actually build a portfolio either based on the prior work that you have done, so that it's real world project, or you can actually build something that's customized to the organization that you're applying to,
yeah,
right? If you can do one of those two things, I think it carries much more weight within the organization. So even at Pivot, when we hire, a lot of folks voluntarily just share certain portfolios. We actually are hiring for a one of the top roles in our company, which is a marketing role, and there's several candidates who reached out to us with a portfolio without us asking them for it,
yeah,
right? And I can tell you that they definitely got slightly preferential treatment by a company because they made the extra effort. Um, so I think that's another way to definitely stand out. The only question mark is if there are certain roles where it's hard to build a portfolio. Think about what's the next best alternative. Like if you can't visually depict your work, what is the next best way apart from describing it just in bullet points on resume, right? Like for a financial analyst, it might be building a one of the valuation models, for example, right? You can build DCF model for an investment bank if you're targeting an investment banking role. So there is usually something or the other you can do,
Yeah.
because all you're trying to showcase is that you can actually do the work in a very high quality manner that aligns with the company requirements. That's what you're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree on the fact that, a lot of times the portfolio is sort of demonstrating the work that you did, but it's also demonstrating the impact that you brought the company that you worked at. So I think that also is an aspect. But there are few cases that I can think, and we've come across those cases while working with professionals. One is that, a lot of times in bigger companies, folks work on internal tools, so they might not have a direct impact on you know business as such. So how
Mhm.
can then they showcase outcomes? How can they showcase the work that they've done? Like, and this also happens to a lot of people, right? In different different roles, some of which you mentioned. There are roles that are not really portfolio centric. um,
Mm.
Nowadays we have a lot of software engineers do it, but earlier it was thought of that only marketing and design roles have portfolios required. But nowadays we see a lot of
Yeah.
software engineers do it. So how can these roles that are internal or might not have external facing job requirements or responsibilities, and the others that are not traditionally considered portfolio centric, how can they approach this?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. And I think that's what I was trying to answer, but
Yeah.
maybe let's take more examples here, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that will make it slightly clearer. So, like I said, I mean, there are many roles where it's relatively harder to showcase your work compared to marketers, designers, product managers. But like you said, I mean, software engineers can showcase uh, any websites they have built, any apps they have built. If it's certain, let's say, solution architecture, cloud architecture work that they have done, that's obviously harder to showcase. But even in that, you can perhaps do a quick audit for the company where you're applying, to say that I did a quick audit using certain tools to identify where you can save on cloud costs, right?
Yeah.
um, I mean, that's not always like perfect, but it's something that's more than just your resume,
Yeah.
right? um, so I think that's one example. Then I've already talked about the finance roles.
Yeah.
um, I think many other folks today, like if we talk about HR professionals. It's an
Yeah.
internal role. It can be harder to showcase the type of work that you have done. But again, let's say there is a company who you want to work with, and they are in a high growth phase, and they are hiring people very very aggressively. And for that, they need not just recruiters, but they need systems, processes, and frameworks in place, like tools in place, to be able to build a very aggressive hiring management system.
Yeah.
And so if you can showcase what kind of tools you have utilized to enable those aggressive hiring practices, build a whole system. And actually, one of our clients who worked with us, a job seeker who is in the talent acquisition space, she didn't build a portfolio, even though we had given her the idea, because it's not the norm to build portfolios. And so she said, if there are so many other people who are not, so why should I spend extra time? And we respected her preference on that. But funnily enough, she was given assignments by many companies for
Yeah.
talent acquisition, which when we reviewed, we realized that that could have been something she could have just built as a portfolio very
Yeah.
easily, even for companies who had not asked for that assignment. So, for example,
True.
she got some assignment related to, um, firstly, identifying the best talent from those who had applied, then put them all together in a spreadsheet, um, in a certain framework wise manner, like they should have been organized in a specific order, and then also use certain other frameworks to enable faster interview process and decision making. So this was the whole assignment, right? And she was given certain assumptions and all of those things. And a lot of people don't do such assignments. They're not used to. They're
Yeah.
just used to interview questions,
Interview questions. Yeah.
right? But you can build these kind of things which may seem far-fetched, which may seem uncommon, but if you want to stand out, you have to go above and beyond. That's
Yeah.
what the game is about.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. In this scenario where the job market is crowded, you need to differentiate yourself. So not shying away from opportunities where you can actually show your skills and
Yeah.
your experience to actually giving examples of it is so important. Like,
Yeah, I
do
just
we?
want to add one more point here, that
Yeah,
portfolios are especially more important, I would say, for people who are making some sort of a career transition.
yeah,
So if you're just a job seeker who's just, moving from one company to another, um, chances are that companies will basically see your background and feel like, okay, that you have the right skills. Like if you're going from, I don't know, from HDFC to Axis Bank in the same exact role, then chances are they don't need a lot of proof. They probably assume that you've been doing that job. But
yeah.
if you are going from, let's say, you were credit. So I'll take a real example. We worked with somebody who was a credit analyst at a bank,
Hmm.
and he actually wanted to transition to more of marketing oriented roles because he felt very passionate about marketing. So we helped him transition uh, within banking to a marketing role, right? But the one of the differentiators for him was the portfolio, because he has no prior experience to showcase in that field.
Yeah,
The only thing he can showcase is that he has a solid understanding of the banking industry because
yeah.
he's worked, but he didn't have much marketing experience. So, to showcase his potential, we told him that he should build a portfolio. And marketing is not that hard to build a portfolio, to be honest. So he built an entire like marketing campaign portfolio for his target company and was able to make that transition.
That's great. That's great, and thank you for sharing. A real example that will definitely help a lot of people. I think one of the key things that I also took away from this is not really approaching the portfolio building as a one-time exercise, and one can actually build this over a period of time. So suddenly, when you're looking for a job, you're not then pressed to collect all the examples of work you've actually done. Building it over a period of time will definitely help that process, and you always have a you know um, continuous stream of work that you're adding to your portfolio.
Absolutely. I think that point actually applies to even your resume.
Yeah,
A lot of
absolutely.
times, when people have spent, let's say, so we work with certain mid career professionals who are in their, let's say, 30s, even sometimes early 40s. And they come to us and they say, oh, last time I was in the job market was like 8 years ago, 9 years, 10 years ago. And so I have not refreshed my resume in the last 10 years or so. And
Yeah,
then when we start to ask them, okay, what are your biggest achievements, your biggest, uh, accomplishments, and projects that you may have worked on.
yeah,
Now, most of the times they just remember the ones that they have worked on in the last 2 years or so, maximum three
yeah,
years, right? um, if they really jog their memory, then they might get back to maybe 4, 5, 6 years, but very very few of them remember what they had done previously. So I think it's always important to keep jotting down, like you said, a log of the most important projects and achievements that you have had almost every year. I think it's
yeah,
important.
yeah. Great. We'll see if we have any questions. Please feel free to drop them on the in the chat box. um, Arjun, now that we have covered the networking, the portfolio building, and roughly a little bit on the resume as well, is there anything else that you think we should deep dive into?
From you mean in terms of landing more
Right.
interview
Yeah.
callbacks outside of the job boards? Yeah.
Yeah. In terms
So I
of the
think,
strategies.
yeah, so I think outside of the job board, the other thing that we have seen work well is either, upskilling through platforms which will help you um, not get necessarily placed, but
Yeah.
definitely make you more visible, because again, you're connecting with like-minded people. So apart from Pivot, which is a more of a career tech platform, there are many industry specific communities which
Yeah.
we recommend to people who join Pivot all the time.
Yeah.
For example, we have frequently heard of good reviews about GrowthX, which is one of the biggest growth marketing communities, right?
Yeah.
And so joining some of these communities can bring more visibility to you as well. But I mean, this is the more obvious thing. I think the other thing that is less obvious is sometimes partnering with freelance recruiters or targeting executive search firms, um, which present usually exclusive mandates of hiring, right? So what happens in these kind of scenarios is you might have heard of Michael Page, you might have heard of Corn Ferry. These are typically targeting mid-career professionals with at least 10 plus years experience. But if you have 10 plus years experience, many times you can reach out to these firms, and if you are a high quality candidate, they will definitely keep your resume on profile. And if they have a mandate that matches your skills and experience, they would definitely want to consider it.
Right.
So this is definitely an avenue which I would want more and more people to think about, because, like I said, many times they have exclusive mandates for hiring, which means the job might not have even been posted on job boards, right? So yeah, this is what some people call the hidden job market, right? A lot of times you don't have access to opportunities because they are never advertised on job
Yeah.
boards. They are filled through these kind of recruitment firms, exec search firms, network referrals, those kind of ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think these are probably, Saiti, I mean, we can go on and on. There's sure a lot of more approaches, but I think what we should now maybe discuss is a little bit about what Pivot is trying to do to
yeah.
solve this problem.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we have discussed previously in this talk is something that we've been working on, and we're really excited to bring to the world in the next few weeks. But referrals is a very important and very powerful feature, a very powerful tool to actually find the right job, sometimes hidden, not really advertised on job boards. Um, Arjun, do you want to add to that? Say something about it?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, we have been working on something behind the scenes for the last couple of months now, where we are excited to bring it out to our users very soon. And I would say this, that whoever's here in this room should definitely keep a little tab on mypivot.work to experience this getting rolled out. But basically, I don't want to keep it too much of a mystery for very long. Basically what we are doing is we are trying to reinvent job boards, right? um, we feel that the current job boards, while they are very good at uh, compiling all the job opportunities that might be there, um, they are not very good at enabling hiring in the most high quality manner and in the most efficient manner. So efficiency and quality are being severely compromised on the current job boards, which we have discussed over the last couple of minutes. And we think that's a very, very big problem that's only going to worsen if we continue with the same approaches that are being used by job seekers and hiring managers today. Today we are talking about 500 applicants, and job seekers really taking 6 months, 8 months
Yeah,
to hear back. And if we continue with the same approach, I think it can honestly get to 1,000 job seekers per application per opening, and job seekers not hearing back for even a year, right? So something's got to change. And so we think the answer is rooted in not the current approaches where you can apply for any job, um, that you should spend time just clicking a button of easy apply, but rather getting referrals through people who can vouch for you,
yeah,
right? That is something that many people, like I mentioned, are already doing, but they're having to circumvent the current job boards to do that. They're finding their own ways to be able to get referrals, which is not very structured, which is not very accessible to many people, right? So rather than circumventing the system, our goal is how do we change the system on its head to make it work for more and more job seekers. And so while we don't want to say a lot more before we actually launch this particular feature on our platform, and we'll be doing it very, very soon. So again, I hope that people check out our website and keep tabs on it. Our goal is to launch this by early February. And so what you will see there is a new way to get referrals, a new way to apply for jobs within the system that makes it not just easier to get more callbacks, but actually feel less exhausted and less stressed about your job search. Um, and not feeling like you have to invent your own playbook every time you jump into the job market for a new role. You can depend on well structured strategies and systems within the job board itself to apply for jobs that align with your target role and get more callbacks, get more offers, right? That's the goal. Yeah, I hope people uh, you know are excited as much as we are to see this, and we'll definitely be making much more noise around this very, very soon.
Yeah, we're very excited because this is something that is completely aligned with what we have always been doing at Pivot, enabling job applicants make strides in in their careers. And I think this will, Arjun, really change the game in a way that it'll make easier, faster job searches happen, and will enable so many job applicants um, pursue their job searches in a more fulfilled manner, and
Mhm.
make it less stressful. So if you're currently searching for job, it's searching for new opportunities, and you're facing the same problem, and you're interested in knowing more, uh, drop us a DM on LinkedIn, or connect with us, and we will let you know when we release this new cool feature of ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm also checking if we have any questions. I'm just going to check that.
I think we might have had some sort of a technical issue because I see
Yeah,
usually this has never happened
this
actually.
has never
It's the
happened,
first
but
time when there are no uh yeah. So I
I'm
don't know
not
if it's a
able to see them.
Ustream issue or something else, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not able to see this right now. But what we'll do, Arjun, is that if there are any questions and we don't see them now, we'll address that later through chat, or through connecting via DMs.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Arjun. And thanks everyone for joining us today. Hopefully, you've got a that lot from what we have discussed about how you can enable your own job search in a way that helps you get the right job of your dreams.
Yes. Thanks, Aiti. And I hope we were able to share certain insights that can effectively help people not just land a job, but do it, like we said, in a more efficient,
Absolutely.
less stressful, um, but more enjoyable manner. It shouldn't be painful for you to find a job. It should be more like something you, at least if you don't look forward to it, at least you don't crib about it
Yeah.
to your friends and family every day. So
Yeah.
that's the goal. And yeah, we're excited about the new set of features and the new job board that we'll be launching very, very soon. Um, we have a sneak peek of it already on the platform, which you can check out. But stay tuned, and we will be bringing it out very, very soon. Thanks again, everybody, for joining, and thanks, Saiti, for hosting the session. I had a good time. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Arjun. Thanks, everyone. Have